Hi, this is Starkie Sowers. Welcome to the Nutrition Mission Podcast from Clark's Nutrition and Natural Foods Market. So the idea of this, Jessica, is to bring all sorts of things to the public's view as well as to some audible situations. So if you're driving down the road or you're doing this, you can listen to some of the episodes. We're going to have all sorts of topics, everything from like tea to sports nutrition to keto diets and the popular diets of the time. You excited for this?
So excited. So make sure you guys subscribe to our channel, and you can go find us on YouTube, like Starkie said. So are you guys ready?
All right.
We're all about the Nutrition Mission.
All right, so today's podcast is going to be about teas. All right, we talked about teas before. We talked about green tea, black tea, oolong tea, all coming from the same Camellia sinensis plant, picked at different times of the year. So if you don't remember that, I'll give you a quick rundown. Camellia sinensis plant grows in various different areas. Obviously grows in China, grows in Japan, grows in India, and it grows in other different locations as well too. But those are the dominant ones, as well as Sri Lanka, I think, has a little bit as well. All right, so that said, all right, one of the things that we actually see with the green tea / black tea plant goes like this. The same tea picked first thing in the winter months when they start budding is white tea. So then the next time they pick it is going to be in the springtime, and that is green tea. The next time they pick it is in the summertime, and they partially ferment the leaves, and that's called oolong tea. Then they pick the same plant again in the fall, and they fully ferment them. Basically, they soak them and let them just kind of bubble, right? So when they're fully fermented, that's black tea. So as the months go on and the picking times increase in months, the caffeine content goes up. So the white tea ultimately ends up being like maybe 5 or 10 milligrams of caffeine. Then you get down to the black, and you can get some decent black teas like Darjeeling and stuff like that might be up in the 90 milligram zone. All right. The other thing that happens is the polyphenol compounds start to come down. Getting a little hint there, the polyphenol compounds convert into caffeine, right? So the polyphenols, of course, are the antioxidants, things of that nature. So those are the worlds of the greens, whites, oolongs, black teas. All right. So I'm doing a different type of non-caffeinated teas this particular segment, specifically talking about winter month teas, all right? So a couple of things about teas, obviously. We think of herbs, all right? A little quick history, United States history. Obviously, indigenous systems worldwide from the beginning of time. In fact, famous quote, Genesis 1:29, King James Version, "And God said, Behold, I have given you all herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. It is for you, it shall be for meat and for food," right? So it's been here forever. We're going to talk about indigenous herbs and things of that nature, all right? So as we go through this, we're going to have some fun stuff, but I just thought we'd go a little bit further, all right? Native American tribes in Southern California use native sages for a variety of purposes ranging from food to medicine and ceremony, all right? Black sage, salvia, right? Possesses analgesic, which is anti-inflammatory, aromatic, obviously the senses, working on the limbic system, and carminative properties. What's a carminative? Digestive. So it comes to help with digestion, with gas, bloating, indigestion, things of that nature. Okay? So white tea, by the way, is the stuff that you see growing around the fields here during the springtime that has yellow flowers. That is white tea. Indigenous only to Southern California, from Santa Barbara all the way down to San Diego and to some parts in Mexico, especially in Baja. All right? So when you think of herbal teas, one of the things that you want to do is be in a position that you ultimately remember that teas that grow in your area are very specifically designed by God to actually nourish you and the environment that you're in. It ultimately makes it work. So a lot of times the stuff that's local is amazing. One of the newest usage for sage, and I like to use sage because we think of all the like weeds that are in the field. When it comes to sage, one of the things that happens is we actually know that people are using it for inflammation now. And so red sage grows specifically in China, and it's part of their basic medical system, and it has been for over 3,000 years. So maybe that just gives you a little scope. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to look at some of these teas, and we're going to talk about some of the specifics of them. We're going to talk about, some of the herbs that work and how they work and things of that nature. But before we go too far, remember that herbs have this. They have active plant constituents, which can include essential oils, obviously where you get the smell. They also have vitamins and minerals. They also have amino acids as well. And so, for instance, we can talk about Melissa. I didn't bring in Melissa with me, but Melissa has the amino acid GABA. GABA shuts the brain down, makes you sleep well. Melissa, for the lack of better terms, is basically a peppermint, all right? And it works amazing. So here comes wintertime. Here comes the craziness. Drinking teas have incredible benefits, as you just noticed here. One of the things that we're going to do is talk about some of the teas that are from different areas and from different companies. One of my favorite companies is Traditional Medicines. And they make these things. They have like tummy coat. They have like pregnancy tea. So they have one that's called Breathe Easy. It's great tea right here. This particular tea actually has a couple significant herbs. First, eucalyptus. Remember that eucalyptus is anti-mucolytic. What does it mean to be anti-mucolytic? It breaks down mucus. Simple, right? Peppermint as well. Peppermint actually opens up the lungs, allows you to breathe better. Take some peppermint oil, mix it with the essential oil orange, mix them together, put them on the garage floor in my gym, and guess what? The guys actually train harder. It's actually known to help to increase endurance and stamina. It opens up the lungs, heightens the senses. Just a little side note, all right? So their Breathe Easy formula is based on those two particular herbs. What's nice about those herbs, they're basically a very mild herb. You can drink this all winter long, no issues whatsoever, all right? Throat coat, great formula. Throat coat's very unique. This particular formula has echinacea as well as eucalyptus. The other thing that it has in it is marshmallow. If you've ever taken marshmallow herb or used it, it literally works amazing. Here's a great illustration. I'm sitting there, 2004, wake up one morning about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm thinking, or it's 2014, I think, man, I don't feel so good. I'm thinking, man, I feel like I might have like appendicitis. My daughter at the time lived in New York, and I texted her. She had had her appendix out a few months before that. I said, hey, bud, what did it feel like? So she started describing it to me. I'm like, oh, that might be it, but I don't have a fever. I'm going to go to the hospital. So I roll in the hospital, call my buddy up. He runs ER. Say, hey, I'm coming in. He goes, come on in. So we roll in. He says to me, he goes, you got a kidney stone, bro. I go, a kidney stone? He goes, yeah. He goes, remember that antibiotic I gave you a while ago? Did you hydrate? I go, no. He goes, those things can cause kidney stones. I go, well, that's genius to know now. Bottom line, it hurt like crazy. And there's like a raw, just like ripping feeling in the inside. Grab some marshmallow. Literally within minutes, the pain was gone. So ultimately, being one of the greatest herbs ever to kind of coat and soothe the body, amazing stuff. All right. Here's a company I've been looking at for years. It's called Yogi. They've been around for years, and they've got some really interesting products. Mind you, as the name would imply, a lot of the herbs that are in here are Indian herbs. So one of the herbs that they have, in fact, here's like a sip of it. Very sweet, by the way. Very unique product. This ends up being what they call cold season. So what they did on this is they focused a couple different things. Number one, they use ginger, they use licorice, they use eucalyptus, they use orange, valerian. Some of the common herbs, obviously, for opening up the sinuses, for digestion. Ginger is like amazing for sickness, mucus buildup. Orange peel in here. But then you get to the bottom. Some real significant things. Tulsi tea. What is Tulsi? It's holy basil. Calms the body down amazingly well. Especially like when you're not feeling good. It's an amazing herb to use. Then clove, black pepper, cinnamon, and cardamom. Just literally breaking up the mucus in the intestinal area, making this like an amazing herb choice for sure. The two of them together, great things to have around the house. All right, remember what I was telling you about indigenous herbs and herbs of that nature in different places. One of the things that we know is this, is when it comes to some of these different herbs, they grow in different areas. So let's talk about a South African herb that's been around and got really popular like in the late 80s, early 90s, and kind of focused really up until the early 2000s. It's called rooibos. And so ultimately this particular tea ends up being very unique. And what it ends up being is it ends up being a tea that's great for the immune system, helps modulate the body, it helps with inflammation. The other thing it does, it seems to have some great like qualities on soothing down mucous membranes that are just irritated beyond belief. So it ends up being like kind of a normal tea. In fact, like you go into like a coffee shop, a lot of time they'll have rooibos tea, and then you think, oh yeah, that's cool, I'll do some rooibos. In fact, I brought one of the cooler ones, and it's this one right here. And if you can see the light on this properly, it's literally like a blue blue purple color, and they actually took the ribose, made this as a base, and then they added to this butter, buttery. It's kind of an interesting herb. First of all, it helps with a lot of different stuff, but they call this butterfly pea flower, blue butterfly pea flower. This literally is like getting a craze right now. It's going all over the place. And what's neat about it is people are using this for drinks and beverages. They're making like anything from like a cocktail to like a spritzer water combination and putting that together. And it ends up being like this new tea that everybody's just gone crazy over. Well, it ends up helping not only with the immune system, also with collagen. So it ends up being a great herb to use, not just for the cool look. All right. Finally, tension tamer. You might be thinking, what do you mean tension tamer? Tension tamer is a great product. It's made by Celestial Seasons, one of the first companies literally to kind of explode the tea business. Has a lithro in it and chamomile. What is a lithro? It's Siberian ginseng. Siberian ginseng, there's reams of study with astronauts as well as elite athletes, as well as people that are working in factories to help them with endurance and stamina, mental acuity, mental alertness, as well as recovery from sicknesses. And believe it or not, by itself, along with other different herbs, ends up being a great herb of choice for cold and flu season. Additionally, chamomile for rest and digest, making this probably one of my favorite teas. I like drinking this stuff on Saturday because it just makes me mellow, makes me feel good. And I just kind of like the immune boosting aspects of it on a regular basis. All right, so that kind of gives you a little overview on some teas and some things that you might want to consume and drink, and maybe a little bit of information about some of the herbs in your area as well as herbs that are around the world. It seems like God always puts the right herbs in the right place to help with all the situations that we come up against. All right, thanks for listening.